welcome back to our channel, Real Talk Besties. Today, I will be interviewing my friend Carl. Say hi, Carl.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Tracy.
We will have Carl give us some background information about his professional journey, who he is, and then we will dive into discussions about mass layoffs, what to do when we encounter situations like this, and how to generate side hustle money. So, Carl, could you provide some insight into your background and professional journey?
Sure. I got my uh, bachelor's degree in computer technology from Purdue University. Went into programming, got into sales after you know a, a career transition when I want to do something other than programming, and I landed in recruiting because of the combination of technical background and a sales background. Recruiting was like a natural progression. I've been recruiting ever since. I recruited for large companies, small companies, agencies, corporate. Um, I spent a lot of my career in banking before I transitioned and ended up with a tech company, and that kind of brought me to where I am now.
Yeah, wow, that was a big transition from being a very technical role into programming, then to sales, then in recruiting. Can you talk about how that transition was and what sparked you from making that switch?
Sure. So um, my wife and I were living in Rochester, New York, second coldest place I've ever lived in my life. Um, we were both we got snowed in actually, and I had to leave town. So I left town. I left her snowed in on a Thursday. She was snowed in over the weekend. She didn't get plowed out until the following Tuesday. I came back on Thursday and we sat down and we talked. We said, "Why are we here? We don't have family here. It's cold. Not really. Not a lot of fun. Not a bad place. We met some nice people, but we could live any place." So we decided to pack up and go someplace warm. We targeted three cities. We landed in Atlanta. Um, we decided whoever found a job first, the other person would pack up and move. She found a job with a company in Atlanta. I packed up and I said, "Hey, I can do anything I want. I can stay in programming. I can get into something more people oriented because I've always liked interfacing with people." So I used that opportunity to transition out of programming, and I got into sales where I was, had a territory. I'm like in the car, moving around all day, doing presentations. Loved it. Um, and after meeting a number of people, I got approached about a position that was a technical recruiter, which married the sales background because I was always dealing with people and the technology background. And I was working for an agency. I worked for
Mhm.
agencies for probably about 7, 8 years, maybe 9, and then I got into transition into corporate recruiting.
Got it. And sounds like back then it was fairly easy to transition to different careers and companies were willing, right, to give a chance. But it doesn't seem like the case
Right,
anymore because we're in a world of economic recession and the invention of AI. Speaking of
right,
AI,
right.
we were both impacted by the mass layoff last year. Could you
Hmm.
talk a little bit more about your experience with the recent workforce reduction? When did it happen?
Sure.
What went into your mind?
So I'll answer that, but I'm gonna step back with how I ended up at Meta in the first place. So I was
Yeah.
with my previous company for 7 years. I've always maintained a good network of people. Someone that I worked with like 7 years previous that I stayed in contact with, we were good friends, contacted me in November of 2021 and said, "Hey, I just started with Meta last 2 months ago. Would you be interested? We're hiring recruiters." And I said, "Well, I'm pretty comfortable where I am." But then I thought about it, I was like, it's a Meta. And I'd always joked with my coworkers, like, I'm here until one of three companies approaches me or I retire, whichever happens first. And Meta was
Mhm.
one of those three companies. So I go through the process. I get hired by Meta. Started January 2022. Everything seems to be going along great. And then things, the economy shifted. A number of things changed. The direction that Meta shifted, and I was impacted by, like you said, the mass layoff. I was able to survive the first round in November of 2022, but I got caught with the round in May of 2023.
Hmm. And did you see that coming?
Absolutely not. Had no idea.
Wow.
I mean, there were some signs that there was going to be more layoffs. I didn't have any reason to think that I was going to be impacted because my performance was good. I was actually, I think, at 140% of target, maybe 137% of target. I thought I'd be good, but it just didn't work out that way. So I was really caught off guard.
I'm really sorry to hear because I heard from many other folks who were also impacted that some of them expected it, but most of them were still shocked, even though they saw it
Yeah,
coming. And the anxiety, right? It's just a
right.
lot of questions and negative feelings amongst people. Can you talk about the emotional impact on your end?
Absolutely. And to your point, I was impacted with two other people on my team. There were three of us, and we had all started within like 5 months of one another. And we talked before we got the news, and we all kind of came to the conclusion, you know what? Even if we get laid off, we've worked at Meta. We can go to another tech company. We can go to another FANG company. We should be fine. It's
Mhm.
not going to be a big deal. And then when we got laid off, and Netflix was laying off, Amazon was laying off, Google was laying off, in addition to us laying off, and there was a wave, and it seemed like the more companies that laid off, the more it gave other companies the license. And I don't want to say the license, but the more comfortable other companies felt doing the same thing. And emotionally, the toll it took on me was not the fact of losing a job, because I've changed jobs a lot of times. I've lost jobs a couple of times, but the market had shifted so much, and so many companies were laying off, and so few companies were hiring. And because so few companies were hiring, those companies that were hiring didn't need as many recruiters. So there were easily 200 plus companies that I applied to get quick rejections or hear nothing at all. That drains you emotionally. It makes you start to question, well, am I really going to have a place in this new economy? Do I really have the value in the marketplace that I think I have? What am I going to do next? Um, like I said, it's emotionally draining. The thing that helps me get through is talking to friends like you and other people that had experienced the same things. Other friends that I have across industries. I mean, it wasn't just the tech industry. It wasn't, you know, isolated to one specific industry. I have one friend that's at another tech company, and I just talked to her like 2 months ago, and she said she's considering looking because there's a rumor of layoffs at her company. And I said, well, look, but don't leave until you have something else,
Exactly.
because you never know what's going to happen. And I explained to her how hard it had been for me and other people that I know. There's another friend of mine that I just talked to this morning. She got laid off in September of last year, and she's still looking. She had lunch with another friend of hers 3 weeks ago, and she said they talked about the people that they know that were in the same boat, people that are well qualified, good experience, work for good companies, hardworking. None of that matters when you don't get an opportunity to re-enter the workplace. And you're contacted when sometimes when you are contacted by recruiters at other companies that are working, and you hear and listen to and see the gaps in their skills where you could do the job better than they're doing it, and you're on the other end, they're employed and you're not. It's a lot to swallow. It's a lot to swallow at
It's
the same
a
time.
shitty feeling. It's a bad feeling. Like
Absolutely.
I agree with
Absolutely.
you because the labor market supply and demand curve has completely shifted. Now that companies
Yeah.
can do more with less with the invention of
Hmm.
AI, and there's so
Right.
many unemployed and laid off workers looking for the same roles. So one rec can easily have thousands of applicants within a few hours a day. And the
Exactly.
constant
Right.
rejection, right? The constant rejection, ghosted from recruiters, or even you meet the qualification, you don't hear anything. That really makes me take things personally, even though we know logically it has nothing to do with
Right.
us.
Right. Um,
But we can help to question, right?
But it's hard to process that and to deal with that mentally. You know it's not you. You know it's not personal. But when you're dealing with your personal situation, and you know you don't get response. You apply to positions, you don't get a response. There were three situations where I applied for a position, and I looked in my network and noticed that I knew people that worked in those companies. Reached out to those people, and in three situations, not even to hear back from someone that you thought you were relatively friendly with. You may not have been the best of friends, but someone that you've spent time outside of work with, and to not get a response back from that makes you question. And at that point, it's not questioning my skills and my capabilities. It's me questioning the relationships that I thought we had,
Yeah.
and that makes it a challenge. Yeah,
Yeah,
and like
it's
you
a
said,
daily
it's a
struggle.
shitty feeling.
Mhm.
On multiple levels. I had this conversation multiple times with my wife that it made us realize that you can't rely on any one company as your sole source of income. You have to have multiple legs of multiple streams of income. Moving forward, we're treating our income situation like a table, and it needs to,
Yes,
if a table has four legs, it's pretty stable.
yes, I agree.
Because if one of the legs breaks or gets wobbly, and you've got three other legs, you're still good.
Yep. And currently, with the competitive labor market, what's even worse is I've heard so many horror stories of scams going around, right? With companies trying to
Yeah.
pretend like they're hiring, but they're actually not. They're just making candidates do free work for them. Have you heard of those stories or encountered that yourself?
I haven't encountered it myself. I've talked to four people that it was masked as part of the interview process. You have to do this project, and three of the four actually did the project. Right, exactly. Three of the four did the project, and after they submitted the project, which was supposed to be the final interview, either they got ghosted or they got an email 2 weeks later and said, we're going in another direction. One person said, so, you know what? I don't feel comfortable doing this unless I've got some assurances that we're going to move forward. Because this is the type of thing that I did in my job, and in my job, I got paid for it. Now, if you want me to do this on a consulting basis, where you just pay me for this one piece of work, and whether you hire me or not, we separate ways, I'm fine with that. The company didn't want to do that. But I'm convinced that companies, like you said, they're getting work for free, as a scam under the guise of it's part of our interview process.
Do you have any advice on how to decipher that? Because I know a lot of people are desperate of looking for a new job, so they will do whatever they're willing to do.
I haven't had to deal with it personally, but the advice that I would give anyone that would ask me would say, if you feel like someone's trying to get something for nothing, then just walk away. Because if they're going to hire you, you'll get that indication when you have the conversation with them about it. If they're not, you'll know that as well. If you it's that old thing. If it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, if you think it's a scam, treat it like a scam and walk away. Because really, you have nothing to lose if you don't have the job anyway. You're not losing anything. Just treat our time is the one commodity that we can control. And if you don't want
Yeah.
to give it away for free, don't.
And you can say that confidently, right? I can also say that confidently because we talked about previously of creating multiple revenue streams. But I'm sure people who only have their
Mhm.
jobs to rely on without any other income, they will still want to pursue, even though they might feel like it's a scam because they have no other options, right? So, can
Right.
you talk about what have you done or currently doing to help you build multiple revenue streams?
So I've done a few things. I began investing in real estate probably 5 years ago. Um, I told my wife, "Hey, if I'd known that we'd be in this situation, I would have spent a lot more time building that business as opposed to saying, well, we'll do this later, we'll do that later, because we don't have time because we're so busy with our jobs." So the real estate investing is something that I do. Um, Trading the market, the stock market consistently. I've got another friend that actually trades forex. Those are things that you can do on your own time at your own pace. Yes, it takes money to get started, but I know people that have started with $2,000 and just work on building that. And the other thing that I did for a while, and I don't even think I told you this, I used to manage. We had 4 vehicles at one point, so we
Oh,
would put our vehicles on a ride sharing platform, a car sharing platform. So we had what we had 3 of our vehicles. Basically, after the layoff, 3 of those vehicles were creating revenue for us. 2 of them were we had car payments on, so the revenue that they created covered the car payments and brought us an additional like $700 a month.
wow. And that covered your
So, and
insurance.
the other thing that I would say is find something that you have exactly, exactly. So the thing that I would say is find something where a it's not going. It didn't cost us anything to put our vehicles on the platform because we already had them. So find something that you already have that you can use to monetize. That was one thing that we could do. The other thing that I would say is find something that you have an interest in or passion for. If you have a passion for something, it's easy to spend your time doing that thing and you don't mind spending the time to sharpen your skills so you can make more money long term.
And what's your advice or your personal experience of getting that motivation to build that? Because nowadays, a lot of the young people, including myself, sometimes we feel drained from work, right? We get lazy, we don't want to do more things. But what motivated you to say, hey, you know what? I'm making good money. I like my job, but I still want to
Um,
make more.
the nothing for me, nothing motivates me more than not having something that I have to have. I have to have a certain amount of money coming in every month, or I'm spending money that I've saved. Nothing motivates me more than watching money go out the door without knowing when it's coming back. That was my motivator. Um, One of the things that I had to do, and you and I talked about this a while ago. We had a property manager managing our property. After everything happened with the layoff, the property manager basically we looked a little deeper, and the property manager was not doing their job. So we fired the property manager because we had time. We went to the state where we had the properties. We spent 2 weeks getting all the leases up to date with directly with us. Cut out the property manager. We had 3 units that were vacant. Um, well, 2 that were vacant. One that the tenant was not current on the rent. We spent a lot of time on that, and now we're to the point where everything's rented. We've got one eviction in process that we'll find out. We'll get that wrapped up next week, and we've got one tenant that moves out this month, and we're going to go and get that place, cleaned up, ready to rent. It was really because I took your advice because you said, hey, when you have property and you manage it yourself, you know where the money is, you know when the money's coming in,
Mhm.
and you have a better pulse on what's going on with your property, and that's some of the best advice that I've heard.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're both very passionate about real estate investment because we are we believe in the value, the
Right.
appreciations, and the long-term gain from real estate properties. But people might be wondering, right? That requires a lot of capital to get things started. So I agree with you that really find something you're passionate about and also good at and start doing that. That can potentially yield into second revenue stream for people who are looking to build that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can you tell us
Yeah.
about where you are right now since the layoff, right? You mentioned since last May. So have you been looking? Are you working or what's going on?
So I've been looking. I'd had 3 different situations where I thought I was going to get an offer and didn't. Um, One because the position lost funding, one because they hired someone internally, and one because hey, we decided we're not going to hire anybody right now. But just 2 days ago, I got an offer that I accepted yesterday.
Oh my gosh,
So I'll start
congratulations.
I did my thank you, thank you. I did my fingerprinting this morning, and as soon as I'm clear and they work out the start date, I'll probably start in the next week or two.
Amazing. Is it going to be similar positions?
It will still be a recruiting position. It's actually with the company that I worked for, but their division is being spun off to a new company. So it's an existing company, but it's almost like a startup.
Oh, wow. Are you super excited?
Um, I'm cautiously optimistic. I, because
I think that's a good
I
term to
don't
put it.
feel like, yeah, based on everything that I've had to deal with, everything that I've gone through, I try not to get too optimistic about something that's out of my control. But um, I'm staying very positive, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Yes.
We're looking at actually renting a part of the basement of our current of the house that we live in, renting that out to make additional revenue as well. Because we really don't use the basement except for the gym, and we'll just move the gym upstairs.
That's so smart. Based on your own experience, do you then have any advice for people who are currently going through layoffs and trying to find new roles or creating more revenue streams?
The best advice I would offer is there's a number of things. One, I hate to say it, but applying blindly to positions that you find that are listed online when you have no access to anyone at the company, it's a waste of time. It's so rare that they're going to call you and you get your hopes up, and then you're waiting for someone to contact you, or you're upset because they don't. Um, the better option to go if you're still looking for a job, with companies, is work your network. Contact people that you know. Let them know what you're looking for. Contact people that you know. Ask to expand your network. Ask them to introduce you to people. If you do see a job that's listed at a company and you want to apply to that job, work your network to find someone that knows someone at the company, so you can talk to someone to get the real story. Because sometimes you get the real story and you find out that job was filled before they even posted it, but they posted because they had to legally. But they've got two people lined up. One of them's internal and one is a referral. Um, and the other thing I would say is never, ever, ever, ever put all of your eggs in one basket. Definitely, we all have to generate income. Most of us are going to do that through a job, through working for someone else. But I talked to a friend of mine. She knows someone that's an artist. That person is starting to do caricatures and sell them online, and they've been doing that for like 2 months, and they're in the process of getting a small shop where they say, where I think their rent is like maybe $1,000 a month, and they can sell, they'll sit in the shop writing, drawing caricatures and selling them to people that walk by, because it's in a high traffic area. Again, find something that you like and find a way to monetize that thing. But even with that, the best way to do anything to get any entity off the ground is to work your existing network. If you're going to do something, tell everyone you know that you're doing that thing, and try to build on the network that you have to turn it into the revenue stream that you need.
That's spot on. Thank you. That's really great advice.
Thanks.
Anything else you want to add before we conclude today's interview?
The current economy is basically proving to us the only thing that gives us any level of stability is the skills that we bring to bear in any field. So the best advice I would give there is work on sharpening and expanding your skills every day. If you're working a job 40 hours a week, spend at least 8 to 10 hours a week making yourself better at whatever that job is. So you can either choose to go someplace else if an opportunity comes up, or put yourself in a position where you're skilled enough to go someplace else if someone taps you on the shoulder one day and says, "Yeah, this position doesn't exist for you anymore today."
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Thank Yes, yes. And what if people don't want to put in that work? Then I would
Sure.
say maybe do something else, right? Find something that makes you really interested and passionate about
I
that.
hate to say it, but you're screwed. If you don't want to put in the work in something that you're doing, find something that you do want to do and put the work into that. But to do nothing is basically waiting on someone to drop a bomb on you in this economy.
Yes, yes. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, your views, and giving us advice on the current economy and folks who are navigating through layoffs. We really appreciate you, Carl. Hope to see you again next few episodes. Bye.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tracy. Good seeing you. All right. Bye.